Emma's smile didn't reach her eyes. It barely even reached her lips. She stood at the back of the reception hall, a flute of untouched champagne in her hand and the faint ache of heartbreak pulsing beneath her skin like an old bruise. Her dress, navy blue, modest, elegant, felt like a costume she had been forced to wear for a play she never auditioned for. Around her, laughter and music swirled like smoke, suffocating in its joy, while every cell in her body screamed to leave. But Lily was somewhere on the dance floor, spinning in her flower girl dress with pink satin ribbons and glitter on her cheeks, and Emma couldn't leave. Not yet. Not when her daughter had spent weeks rehearsing every step, every smile, for a moment that should have been pure. Not when Lily had been so proud to be part of her father's new beginning. Emma swallowed hard, the sight of her ex-husband dancing with his new wife slicing through her like glass. She had done everything right. She had loved him. She had built a home. She had bent herself into someone smaller, quieter, more manageable. And still, he had left. For her. The woman with perfect teeth and perfect timing and no baggage, especially not the kind with pigtails and an obsession with dinosaurs. Emma blinked quickly, determined not to cry in a room full of people who already believed she had lost. She edged closer to the wall, hoping to fade into the wallpaper. That's when she felt it, a presence. Not loud, not showy. Just there. Confident. Grounded. Dangerous. Come, a low voice said, inches from her ear. Pretend you're my wife tonight. Emma turned, startled. The woman beside her was unlike anyone else in the room. Dark tailored suit, crisp white shirt, hair pulled back in a style too severe to be accidental. Her lips were full, unsmiling. Her eyes, black or maybe dark brown, Emma couldn't tell in the light, were unreadable, like deep water. A faint scar traced her chin, subtle but unmistakable. She looked like a secret dressed in silk and steel. Excuse me? Emma managed, her voice uneven. The woman didn't smile. They won't leave me alone unless they think I'm taken. You looked like you wanted to disappear. I can make that happen for one night. Her hand extended, palm up, fingers long and calloused in a way that didn't match the elegance of her watch. Emma's instinct was to say no. This wasn't her world. She was a single mom who shopped with coupons and remembered birthdays. This woman looked like she had forgotten how to be surprised. And yet, there was something in her tone. Not quite desperation. Not quite boredom. Something in between. Emma glanced toward the crowd, where a man in a shiny suit was making his way toward her with a smile too hungry to be harmless. Okay, she said before she could talk herself out of it. She took the woman's hand. It was warm, strong, steady. What's your name? Alessandra, she said simply, leading her through the room as if they belonged together. And for some reason, no one questioned it. The air shifted around them. People stared, not with curiosity, but with caution. As if Alessandra carried a reputation in her wake. You? Alessandra asked, not looking at her. Emma. Pretty name, she said, her voice low. Emma's skin tingled. The way Alessandra held her waist wasn't lewd or possessive. It was protective, like a claim staked quietly. Like a shield drawn between Emma and the world. They moved through the room as one, and for the first time all night, Emma felt invisible in a good way. Not like a ghost. Like a secret. Is this where I ask what the hell I just agreed to? Emma asked. Alessandra's lips twitched. A hint of amusement, maybe. Only if you want to ruin the mystery. Is it dangerous? Emma asked, half joking, half not. Alessandra stopped walking. Turned to face her. You're safe with me, she said. And for reasons Emma couldn't name, she believed her. When they reached the table Alessandra had vacated, Emma noticed the way the conversations quieted. The way eyes flicked over to them, then away again, as if afraid to look too long. Alessandra pulled out a chair for her, then sat beside her, close enough their knees touched beneath the linen. You know people are staring, right? Emma murmured. Let them. Alessandra poured her wine, like it was a ritual. You have no idea how badly I needed you tonight. You don't even know me. No, she agreed. But I can tell you're not like them. And right now, That's all I need. Emma studied her for a moment. There was an edge to her, not just power, but loneliness. And something else, restraint, as if she was constantly pulling herself back from something sharp. Are you always this dramatic? She asked. Alessandra's gaze flicked to her mouth. Only when I'm interested. The silence between them deepened, not awkward, charged. Emma didn't know what this was. A game. A moment. An escape. But her pulse was racing, and Alessandra hadn't looked away once. You have a child, Alessandra said, not a question. Lily, Emma replied cautiously. She's 6. She's the reason you came tonight. Of course. Alessandra nodded slowly, then looked away, not disinterested, but respectful. If at any point you want to stop pretending, just say the word. Emma surprised herself by saying, and if I don't? Alessandra looked at her again. This time, there was no amusement, just honesty. Then I'll keep pretending until the night ends. Or until you want something real. The world around them faded. The noise, the lights, the ache in Emma's chest. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen. Not pitted, not dismissed, not judged. Just held in place by a stranger who somehow felt safer than anyone else in the room. And when Alessandra's hand brushed hers onto the table, barely a touch, almost accidental, Emma didn't pull away. Emma didn't expect to laugh that night. She hadn't expected to breathe without aching, to sit at a table without her shoulders pulled tight like armor, or to speak without measuring every word. But Alessandra changed the atmosphere around her with nothing more than her presence. It wasn't just the way people looked at her. It was the way she looked back, like she'd already dissected every possible motive in the room and dismissed them all. Except Emma. Alessandra looked at Emma like she was a puzzle worth solving. And that gaze, steady, focused, almost reverent, made Emma feel like she was unfolding in slow motion. They were seated close, knees still brushing, hands just barely not touching on the white linen. The music shifted from sharp jazz to something softer, strings swelling under the distant clink of champagne flutes and the buzz of indulgent laughter. Alessandra leaned in slightly, enough that her breath tickled Emma's ear. Do you want to dance? Emma froze. She hadn't danced in years. Not since before Lily. Not since before the weight of motherhood carved new rhythms into her body and time became a luxury she couldn't afford. I'm not sure I remember how, she said softly. Alessandra tilted her head. Good. Then we'll make up the steps. She rose without waiting for an answer and extended her hand again, same as before. Open, confident, a silent challenge. Emma's hesitation lasted a breath. Then she stood, letting Alessandra guide her through the murmuring crowd and onto the dance floor. For a heartbeat, the world felt too sharp, too exposed. Emma could feel the eyes, the speculation. But then Alessandra's hands found her waist, firm, warm, present, and all that vanished. Emma's arms slid around her neck, and they began to move. Alessandra didn't lead with arrogance. She led with intent, slow and deliberate, allowing Emma to settle into the rhythm at her own pace. See, she murmured. You remember. Emma smiled, small but real. You're good at this. I've had practice pretending, Alessandra replied. But her voice didn't carry the bitterness Emma expected. It sounded tired, honest, vulnerable in a way that made Emma's chest tighten. Do you pretend often? She asked. Only when people expect me to be someone I'm not. And who do they expect you to be? Alessandra's eyes held hers, darker now, under the chandelier light. Someone colder, crueler, easier to hate. Emma searched her face. Are you? Sometimes, Alessandra admitted. But not tonight. The honesty in that answer disarmed Emma completely. She wasn't used to people being that raw. Especially not someone like Alessandra, composed, mysterious, powerful. There was something undeniably dangerous about her, yes, but also something deeply human beneath all the polish. As they danced, Emma realized her body had relaxed. Her heart wasn't racing from nerves anymore, but from something warmer. Something like anticipation. Why me? She asked quietly. Why pick me? Alessandra's fingers traced a slow path along Emma's spine. Because you weren't trying to be seen. And still I saw you. Emma didn't know what to say to that. So she said nothing. Just let the music carry them. Let Alessandra hold her in a way that felt less like seduction and more like safety. Then, Alessandra's voice dropped to a whisper. I watched you with your daughter earlier. Emma's eyes flicked up. You did. Alessandra nodded. You fixed the back of her dress when no one was looking. You let her take off her shoes, even though she'd get scolded. You let her be free, even when you weren't. Emma blinked. You noticed all that? I notice everything. Alessandra's hand cupped Emma's jaw, just for a moment. A feather-light touch, thumb grazing her cheek. And I've never seen anyone love that visibly before. The words hit harder than they should have. Emma's eyes burned. She wasn't used to being noticed not like this. Not for her love, her care, her quiet endurance. Not for the parts of herself she'd always thought were invisible. Alessandra stepped slightly closer, eliminating the small space between them. Stay until the music ends. Emma didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her body stayed pressed to Alessandra's, her head near her shoulder. The scent of her perfume, something dark, floral, expensive, embedding itself in her memory. When the song ended, they didn't move. Another began. Slower. Intimate. Neither of them let go. They're probably wondering, Emma murmured. Let them, Alessandra said again. I'm not pretending for them anymore. Emma looked up, and in that moment, that tiny second between breaths, something shifted. The night no longer felt borrowed. It felt like a beginning. Tell me something true, Emma said suddenly. Alessandra's eyes didn't waver. I don't trust easily. But for some reason, I trust you. Emma exhaled, slow and uncertain. That's a little dangerous. Yes, Alessandra said. But you don't look scared. I'm not. Good, Alessandra said, voice soft as velvet. Because I don't think I can stop looking at you. And just like that, the night bent around them again. Two strangers, caught in a moment that felt like more than it should. And when Emma's fingers slid from Alessandra's shoulder to the back of her neck, when their foreheads almost touched, the space between pretend and real collapsed into a single, undeniable truth. She didn't want this to end. By the time Emma opened the door to her hotel room, her heels were dangling from her fingers, her feet sore, her shoulders aching, but her heart, strangely, felt lighter than it had in months. Lily was already asleep in the bed, curled under the covers with her stuffed triceratops tucked tightly against her chest. Her soft breathing was the only sound in the room. Emma crossed to her and brushed a lock of blonde hair from her daughter's face. A breath caught in her throat at how peaceful she looked, unaware of the way the world had tilted that night. After a long moment, Emma stood and turned, only to find Alessandra standing just inside the room, the door clicking softly shut behind her. I didn't realize you followed me, Emma said, her voice low. Alessandra slipped her hands into her pockets. I just wanted to make sure you made it up safely. You looked tired. You didn't have to, I know. Alessandra's eyes softened as they flicked to the sleeping child. She's beautiful. Emma nodded, her tone quiet but proud. She is. She trusts you completely. She's never had a reason not to. That's rare, Alessandra said. And precious. Emma crossed her arms, not out of defensiveness, but to keep herself from reaching for something she didn't quite understand yet. Did you want to come in, or? Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments, on a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. Alessandra's lips curled just slightly. Only if it's not an intrusion. Emma hesitated only a second before nodding. Come in. Just keep your voice down. She's a light sleeper. Alessandra moved with practiced quiet, easing down into the single armchair by the window, the city lights catching on the silver of her watch and the sharp line of her jaw. Emma leaned against the edge of the bed, watching her. You're not what I expected. Alessandra tilted her head. What did you expect? Someone colder. Sharper. Louder, maybe. I'm loud when I have to be, Alessandra said, her voice barely above a whisper. But not tonight. Emma smiled.
No.
Not tonight. The silence stretched between them again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like the kind of quiet that only forms between people who don't need to fill the air with unnecessary words. Then, from the bed, a soft whimper. Lily. Emma moved instantly, kneeling beside the mattress as her daughter tossed lightly in her sleep. It's okay, baby, she whispered, stroking Lily's hair. It's just a dream. But Lily's brow furrowed deeper, and she mumbled something that sounded like, Mama, don't go. Emma's heart twisted. She looked over her shoulder and found Alessandra already rising from the chair. She knelt down beside them on the other side of the bed. What is she like? Alessandra asked softly. Emma blinked. Dinosaurs. Paper crafts. Stories. Alessandra reached into the inside pocket of her blazer and pulled out a small square of paper. Hotel stationery. May I? Emma nodded, and Alessandra began to fold with deft, practiced fingers. In less than a minute, a delicate paper star sat in her palm. I used to do origami when I couldn't sleep, Alessandra said. It helped quiet my hands. She leaned over and placed the star on the pillow beside Lily, who stirred, then settled. Emma stared at the star, then at the woman who'd made it. You're full of surprises. You're full of sadness, Alessandra replied, not unkindly. And still, you give her joy. Emma's breath caught.
She's all I have.
No, Alessandra said, and her eyes didn't leave hers. You're more than just someone's mother. The words hit harder than they should have. Emma sat back slowly, emotions crowding her chest. You speak like you've lived 1,000 lives. It feels that way sometimes. Alessandra settled back into the chair, her legs crossed, one hand resting near her temple. When you grow up in a family like mine, you learn early that affection is currency and trust is a weakness. Emma looked at her carefully. Is that why you don't let people close? Alessandra didn't answer right away. Then, it's why I don't usually offer paper stars to strangers. Emma laughed softly. Is that what I am? A stranger? Alessandra's eyes met hers in the dim room, unwavering. You were. And now? Now you're someone I don't want to forget when the night ends. Emma felt it again, that quiet hum beneath her skin. She stood and crossed the room, slowly, deliberately, until she stood before Alessandra. Neither of them moved for a moment. Then Alessandra reached out, almost cautiously, as if waiting for permission. Emma nodded. Her fingers wrapped around Emma's wrist gently, and she guided her down until she was seated on the edge of the armchair, legs tangled with Alessandra's, their bodies close but not yet touching. I haven't been looked at like this in a long time, Emma whispered. Like what? Like I'm wanted. Alessandra's voice was low and firm. You're not just wanted, Emma. You're seen. And you're extraordinary. Emma didn't lean in.
She didn't need to.
Their proximity made it impossible not to feel every breath, every shift. And yet, there was patience in Alessandra's stillness. No pressure. No expectation. Only presence. Emma's hand found Alessandra's jaw, her thumb tracing the faint scar, as if memorizing it. How did you get this? Knife fight. Monaco. I was 17. That's terrifyingly hot, Emma murmured, surprised by her own honesty. Alessandra grinned, teeth flashing. You're dangerous when you're honest. So are you, Emma said. And just when Alessandra's hand slid to the small of Emma's back, steady and grounding, Lily stirred again. Mommy, her voice croaked, sleepy and small. Emma stood quickly, crossing the room and kneeling by the bed again. I'm here, sweetheart. Can't sleep. You had a bad dream. Hum. Emma glanced back at Alessandra, who stood slowly. Would it help if someone read to you? Alessandra asked. Lily looked at her, blinking. Do you know how to read dinosaur books? Alessandra crouched beside her. I can try. Emma watched as her daughter moved over, giving space, and Alessandra sat on the edge of the bed. Emma handed her the battered copy of Dinosaurs Don't Sleep from the nightstand. And then there she was, Alessandra Moretti, Mafia Heiress, her suit slightly wrinkled, reading about prehistoric sleep habits with a patience Emma had never seen from anyone outside her closest circle. Lily giggled once. Alessandra smiled. Emma leaned against the wall, her chest aching in a new way. She didn't know what this was. She didn't know where it could go. But something inside her whispered that tonight was already more than pretend. By the time Lily had fallen back asleep, this time with her little hand loosely wrapped around Alessandra's pinky finger, Emma's heart felt like it had expanded too much inside her chest. She stood by the window, arms folded, trying to breathe through the confusion curling low in her belly. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Not beyond the reception, not beyond a dance, not into her hotel room, her space, her daughter's space. But Alessandra hadn't just entered the room. She had belonged in it, as if she'd always known where everything was. That terrified Emma more than anything else. Alessandra slowly eased her hand free from Lily's and tucked the child in with surprising care before standing and meeting Emma's gaze. Her voice was gentle. "I should go." Emma didn't move. "You could stay." Alessandra blinked, surprised, not by the invitation, but by the look in Emma's eyes. She wasn't teasing or flirting. She was tired, raw, open. "Are you sure?" Emma nodded. "It's late. You're already here. And I think Lily likes you." "You barely know me," Alessandra said. "That's not true," Emma replied. "I know how you fold paper when your mind is restless. I know you notice things no one else does. I know you don't smile unless it's real. That's already more than I know about half the people in my life." Alessandra didn't respond right away. Then, quietly, "Okay." Emma moved to the bed, pulled back the second set of sheets on the double queen room, and slid beneath them. She turned off the lamp. In the darkness, she heard the soft rustle of fabric as Alessandra removed her blazer, unbuttoned the cuffs of her shirt. Then the gentle shift of the mattress as she lay on the bed beside her. Emma stared at the ceiling, heart racing. She didn't reach out. She didn't have to. Their hands found each other between the sheets, fingers brushing, linking. The silence stretched. "You're not what I expected either," Alessandra murmured. "Oh, you're braver." Emma let out a breathless laugh. "Brave? I cried in the hotel bathroom an hour ago." "You came anyway. You stood there with grace. You put your daughter first. That's a kind of courage most people never find." Emma turned her head in the dark. "You talk like someone who's lost things." "I have." "What?" Alessandra hesitated. "People.
Time.
Parts of myself I don't think I'll get back." Emma turned toward her fully. "But you still believe in something. Enough to stay. Enough to fold stars for a child you just met." Alessandra turned her face too, and now they were close. So close, she could feel the warmth of Emma's breath. "That child looks at me like I'm a hero. I don't know what to do with that." "Maybe just don't run from it." A beat passed. Then another. And then Emma moved first. Not boldly, not dramatically. Just a slow shift forward, her nose brushing Alessandra's, her lips finding hers in the dark. It wasn't a kiss full of fire. It wasn't hungry. It was reverent. Careful. The kind of kiss that asks permission and offers truth. Alessandra didn't respond immediately, and for a heartbeat Emma thought she'd misread everything. But then Alessandra kissed her back, softly, deeply, her hand rising to cup the back of Emma's head with astonishing tenderness. It was like opening a door they both thought was locked. When they pulled back, neither spoke. There was nothing to say. The air between them thrummed with quiet meaning. Emma laid her head on Alessandra's shoulder, and Alessandra's fingers moved gently through her hair, over and over, until the rhythm made her eyelids grow heavy. "You don't have to be strong right now," Alessandra whispered, lips brushing her temple. "Just rest." Emma didn't mean to sleep, but she did. She fell into it as if it had been waiting for her. And Alessandra didn't move, not for hours. She kept her arm around Emma, eyes on the ceiling, heart thudding in a way she didn't recognize. She didn't feel danger or guilt or the edge of betrayal. She felt safe, which, for someone like her, was far more terrifying. The room stayed quiet until just before dawn, when Lily stirred and sat up in bed, eyes half open. She looked at Alessandra, then at her mom, curled around her. And without hesitation, Lily crawled into the space between them and laid her head on Alessandra's stomach. "You're still here," she mumbled sleepily. Alessandra froze. Then slowly, she brought her hand down to rest gently on the child's back.
"Yeah," she said.
"I'm still here." And the words felt heavier than they should have, like a promise. The morning light slipped through the heavy curtains in narrow golden strips, brushing across the hotel bed in slow, lazy lines. Emma stirred first, her body adjusting to the unfamiliar sensation of waking up with warmth behind her instead of empty space. For a brief second, she forgot where she was, forgot the wedding, the dance, the kiss. Then she felt the arm around her waist tighten slightly, grounding her. She blinked, heart catching in her throat. Alessandra was still asleep. Her breathing was even, her body relaxed, but her hand remained firmly splayed across Emma's stomach, like she'd been holding her through dreams. And Lily, curled into a ball at their feet like a puppy who decided this was her new home. Emma didn't dare move. She just lay there, listening to the soft rhythm of two people breathing next to her, one small and trusting, the other quiet and unreadable, even in sleep. It should have felt strange. It should have felt wrong. But it didn't. It felt inevitable. When Alessandra finally stirred, it was slow. Her lashes fluttered, and the moment her eyes opened and found Emma's, something shifted between them again, soft but heavy.
"Real."
"Morning," Alessandra said, voice rough from sleep. Emma's lips curved. "You stayed. You asked me to. Still, you didn't have to." "I wanted to." Emma's heart beat harder. That wasn't just a courtesy reply. It was a truth laid bare. Alessandra shifted to sit up slightly, careful not to disturb Lily. The girl mumbled something in her sleep and kicked softly against the sheets. Alessandra smiled, genuinely. "She moves a lot." "She always does," Emma said. "She has wild dreams." "Sometimes I think she's chasing dinosaurs in them." "You're good with her," Alessandra murmured, running a finger over the edge of the pillow. "You make it look effortless." "It's not, but thank you." "It scares me," Alessandra added, so quietly Emma almost didn't hear. "The way I want to be around her." "Around you?" Emma turned her head, surprised by the confession. Alessandra didn't look at her. Her gaze was fixed on Lily, like she couldn't quite believe what she was seeing. "I've spent years learning how to keep people out. For their safety. For mine. But last night I watched her fall asleep holding my hand, and I felt something shift in me. Like, maybe it's not about keeping everyone away. Maybe it's about choosing the ones you'd risk everything for." Emma didn't know what to say. No one had ever said anything like that to her. She reached for Alessandra's hand, lacing their fingers together gently. "She liked you immediately. That doesn't happen often." "She's smart," Alessandra replied. "She sees people clearly. So do you." Their eyes met, and a quiet understanding passed between them. There was something forming here, unspoken, unnamed, but real, and frightening in its honesty. Alessandra exhaled slowly. "I have to go soon." Emma's body tensed. "Of course. Not because I want to, but because people will notice if I don't return." Emma nodded. "I get it. Do you? I don't live your life, but I understand obligations. She hesitated. "I don't want this to be nothing." Alessandra sat up fully now, her thumb brushing over Emma's knuckles. "It's not nothing." "Then what is it?" Alessandra looked at her for a long moment. "It's something I'm not used to. Something I want more of. If you'll let me." "I'm scared," Emma admitted. "So am I." "You're never scared." "I am now." Emma exhaled, then leaned in and kissed her again, just once, soft and slow. "Okay," she said when they pulled apart. "Okay," Alessandra echoed. Alessandra stood carefully, collecting her blazer and sliding it on. She glanced at the mirror, smoothing her shirt, and for the first time, Emma noticed the faint bruises on her ribs, just under the fabric. "That from the wedding?" Emma asked softly. Alessandra hesitated.
"No."
"From before?" Emma stepped forward and brushed her fingers gently over the fabric. Does it happen often? Less now than it used to. That's not an answer. Alessandra met her eyes. It's the only one I can give you today. Emma nodded, letting the subject go, for now. Will I see you again? Alessandra smiled. You'll hear from me by tonight. You promise? Alessandra's expression turned serious. I don't make promises I don't intend to keep. She walked to the door and paused. You and your daughter, you deserve more than a night. I want to know what it's like to be part of something that feels real, even if it scares me. Emma didn't respond. She just stood there, hand over her heart, watching her go. When the door clicked shut, the silence returned. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was full of something that lingered in the air like perfume and possibility. Later that morning, Lily woke up and yawned. She's gone. Just for now, Emma said. She said she'd come back. Good, Lily said, completely unbothered. She's strong, like a superhero, but her eyes are sad. Emma's throat tightened. Yeah, baby. I saw that too. Lily rubbed her eyes. We should make her something, like a drawing. What kind of drawing?
Us.
So she remembers we're real. Emma smiled and kissed her forehead. That's a beautiful idea.
And it was.
Because after last night, Emma wasn't pretending anymore. Neither of them were. Emma kept checking her phone all afternoon. It was a subtle thing, hidden in the rhythm of her day. Packing Lily's tiny backpack, organizing her glitter-stained coloring books, and listening to the quiet hum of cartoons playing low on the hotel TV. But her eyes flicked to the screen every few minutes, as if willing a message to appear. Alessandra had said she'd reach out. Emma believed her. But still, silence stretched. And with every passing hour, the memory of that night, the dancing, the whisper-soft kiss, the way Alessandra had held Lily's hand like it was made of glass, started to feel like a dream that belonged to someone else. Mommy, look, Lily said, holding up her drawing with proud, crayon-covered fingers. Emma smiled and crouched beside her. The picture was simple, but full of heart. 3 stick figures, one in a sparkly dress, Lily, one with long red hair, Emma, and one in a black suit with what appeared to be a sword strapped to her back, Alessandra. Above them, Lily had written their names. Underneath, family. Emma's throat closed. It's beautiful, baby. She needs to have it, before she forgets. Emma brushed a hand through her daughter's hair. She won't forget. But even as she said it, a soft knock on the hotel room door made her heart leap. Emma stood quickly, body tensing. 3 short knocks. Not rushed. Not aggressive. Just deliberate. She opened the door cautiously and froze. 2 men stood in the hallway. They didn't look like hotel staff. One was in a dark coat, square-jawed, hands tucked neatly behind his back. The other wore sunglasses indoors and had the kind of calm that came from too much control. Emma Collins? The taller one asked. Emma didn't answer. We're here on behalf of Alessandra Moretti. Now her heart really began to pound. Is she okay? She's safe, the other man said. But she's requested you come with us. Immediately. Emma stepped out slightly, just enough to block their view of Lily, who was now peeking over the bed with wide eyes. She sent no message. No call. Why would I go with 2 strangers? Because she's in trouble, the first man said quietly. And she didn't want to put that trouble at your door. Too late, Emma whispered. She asked us not to involve you unless it was necessary. She's bought you time. But now she needs you to decide. To decide what? If you trust her. Emma stood there, torn, everything in her life shouting at her to slam the door. She had a daughter to protect, a life to rebuild. She didn't chase chaos, she survived it. But her mind flashed back to the way Alessandra had held Lily, the way she had looked at Emma like she was more than a shattered version of herself. She had said, "You're safe with me." Now it was Emma's turn to ask, could Alessandra be safe with her? I'm not going anywhere without my daughter. The men exchanged a look, then nodded. We have a secure car waiting. Emma turned and knelt beside Lily. We're going on a little trip, okay? To see her? Lily asked. Emma nodded. To see her. Within minutes, they were in the back of a sleek black vehicle, Lily holding her drawing tightly against her chest. The city blurred past them in shades of gray and gold. Emma couldn't stop her mind from racing. "What kind of trouble is she in?" she finally asked. "There's been a breach," the man said simply. "A cousin with poor timing. A deal gone wrong." And Alessandra made herself the buffer. "That doesn't tell me anything. It tells you she's protecting you." Emma clenched her jaw. "And who's protecting her?" No one answered. They pulled into an underground parking structure beneath a high-rise that didn't look like anything special from the outside. But once inside, it was clear. Alessandra's world wasn't just dangerous. It was calculated, protected, and quietly brutal. A woman in a smart suit led them through a maze of elevators and corridors until finally, a door opened to a minimalist office with dark floors, sharp corners, and Alessandra. She stood at the window, back to the door, hair loose now, a pistol resting on the glass table beside her. "That won't be necessary," Emma said, her voice cutting through the tension like a thread of silk. Alessandra turned, and the relief in her eyes was immediate. "You shouldn't be here," she said, but her voice cracked just slightly. "You sent people for me. That was before things got worse. Then maybe you shouldn't handle it alone." Emma took a step forward. "You said you'd reach out." Alessandra exhaled. "I didn't want you caught in this. It's too late for that. You asked me to pretend to be your wife. You made my daughter fall for you. You don't get to disappear when it's inconvenient." Alessandra's jaw tightened. "This is dangerous, Emma. So was trusting you. And I did. So now it's your turn." A beat. Then another. And finally, Alessandra moved forward. "I'm not good at letting people help me." "Too bad," Emma said. "Because I brought backup." She turned, revealing Lily behind her. The girl held up the drawing with both hands. "This is for you," she said shyly. Alessandra knelt slowly, accepting the paper like it was sacred. Her hands trembled. "Is that a sword on my back?" "You're a hero," Lily said matter-of-factly. Alessandra looked up at Emma, emotion swimming behind her usually guarded eyes. "I don't know what to do with this." "Just don't break it," Emma said. "Because if you do, I don't know if we can put it back together." Alessandra stood and took a breath, then reached for Emma's hand. "I can't promise safety, but I can promise I'll fight like hell to keep you both." Emma nodded. "Then we'll stay. But no more silence. No more disappearing." Agreed. Their hands stayed linked. The danger was still there, pulsing at the edges. But so was something stronger now. Something that looked a lot like love. And for the first time, Emma didn't feel like she was surviving. She felt like she was choosing. They didn't go back to the hotel. Alessandra wouldn't allow it. Not after what happened. Not after Emma and Lily had been exposed to even a glimpse of the world she normally kept locked behind closed doors. Instead, she gave them the master suite in the top floor of her private residence, a fortress disguised as a penthouse, where every window was tinted, every door reinforced, and every hallway monitored. "This is temporary," Alessandra had said, her voice low but firm. "Just until I'm sure there's no more threat." Emma didn't argue. Not because she agreed, but because she didn't want to sleep another night without knowing Alessandra was just a room away. Or possibly in the same room. That evening, while Lily colored at the glass dining table and devoured a plate of pasta the chef had prepared, Emma stood on the balcony outside the bedroom, staring out at the city. It looked peaceful from up here. Clean. Quiet. Like nothing bad could touch them. But she knew better. "You're thinking too hard," Alessandra said behind her. Emma didn't turn. "It's hard not to when my life keeps shifting every few hours." Alessandra came to stand beside her, just close enough that their arms brushed. "I didn't want this for you." "What? The armed guards? The hidden rooms?" Emma turned, her tone softer than her words. "Or the part where my daughter draws you as a superhero and you disappear the next morning?" Alessandra's jaw flexed. "I thought staying away would keep you safe." It didn't. Emma looked up at her. "What keeps us safe is knowing who's on our side. Who's worth trusting. And whether or not you're used to being that person, you are for us." Alessandra exhaled, and in it was something that sounded like surrender. She reached out, fingers brushing Emma's wrist. "I've made people disappear for less than what I feel for you." Emma's breath caught. "That's a terrifying way to say you care." "I don't know how to say it better." "Not yet." Emma stepped forward, placing her hands on Alessandra's chest, over her steady, guarded heart. "Then show me." They kissed like the world had narrowed down to the space between them. This time, there was no hesitation, no silence waiting to swallow the moment. Emma pushed up onto her toes, and Alessandra met her halfway, hands moving to her waist, pulling her closer, like she couldn't bear the space between them. The kiss deepened, slow and deliberate, Alessandra's fingers skimming beneath the hem of Emma's shirt, not with urgency, but with reverence, like she was trying to learn her by touch. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Emma rested her forehead against Alessandra's. "Do you always go all in like this?" "Never," Alessandra whispered. "That's how I know this matters." Emma smiled against her lips. "It matters to me too." Later, while Lily slept in the adjacent room and the lights had dimmed to a soft golden glow, Emma sat curled up on the bed, watching as Alessandra moved around the space, removing her holster, laying her weapon in the drawer with quiet precision, loosening the cuffs of her shirt like it was part of some sacred ritual. "You look different when you're not armed," Emma said softly. "More dangerous or less?" Alessandra asked without turning. "More human." Alessandra looked at her then, a strange softness in her eyes. "That's the most vulnerable thing anyone's ever said to me." Emma tilted her head. "Do people usually tell you you're not human?" "They treat me like a machine. A symbol, a threat, but never a person." "Then they're not seeing you right." Alessandra moved to the bed, sitting down beside her, slow and careful. "And you do. I see the way you look at Lily, like she's magic." Emma's voice wavered. "I see how you touch me like I'm something fragile, but talk to me like I'm steel. You make me feel like both." Alessandra reached out, brushing Emma's hair behind her ear. "You are both. And what are you?" "I don't know yet." "Then I'll help you figure it out." Alessandra stared at her like she wasn't sure how she'd gotten here, in this moment, with someone who saw through every armor she'd ever built. "You're not afraid of me." "No," Emma said. "But I'm afraid of what it means to want you like this." Alessandra leaned in, her voice a whisper against her skin. "Then let's want carefully." That night, they didn't rush. They lay side by side, fully clothed, talking in low voices about everything and nothing. Alessandra told her about summers in Sicily, the sound of her father's voice when he was angry, the way her mother used to braid her hair, and say don't ever show them how smart you are. Make them think they're winning. Emma told her about Lily's birth, the night she left her ex-husband for good, the way she sometimes feels invisible in her own life. At some point, Alessandra reached for her hand under the sheets. Their fingers stayed laced together until sleep stole them both. And in the quiet hours of the morning, when Lily crawled into bed and nestled between them once again, Alessandra didn't move away. She opened her eyes, looked at Emma, and mouthed 2 words, "Love looks," then placed her hand gently over Lily's sleeping back, like this. It had been 3 days since the night Alessandra let Emma into her world. 3 days of quiet mornings, soft kisses over shared coffee, whispered words passed like secrets, while Lily built pillow forts in the living room under the supervision of armed guards pretending not to smile at her enthusiasm. 3 days of pretending, this time not that they were married, but that the world outside couldn't reach them. But even the safest castles have doors. And Emma knew a storm always finds a way in. It started with a phone call. Alessandra had stepped out to take it in her office, her voice low and tight. Emma heard none of the words, only the tone. It was the same one Alessandra used when she thought Emma was asleep, when she paced the hallway at night with her hand near the gun she kept beside the bed. Emma knew that voice wasn't meant for her ears. But this time, it didn't matter. Because when Alessandra came back into the room, she didn't pretend everything was fine. "We need to talk," she said. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, Lily asleep in the next room. "What happened?" "There was a hit ordered," Alessandra said simply. Not on me. On someone in my family. But the message behind it, it's personal. They're getting close. Too close. Emma didn't flinch. Are we safe here?
For now.
But if they know where I am, they might start watching the people around me. And that includes you. Alessandra moved closer, eyes sharp but full of something soft underneath. I've made arrangements. A safe house. New names. I can move you both tonight. Emma stood. And you? I can't leave. Not yet. Emma crossed her arms. Then neither do we. Alessandra's jaw tightened. Emma, no. You don't get to decide this for me. Her voice trembled, but it was fierce. You think I can go back to my old life now? Pretend none of this happened? That you didn't happen? My daughter draws you into every picture she makes. She won't understand why we disappeared from you. And neither will I. Alessandra reached for her, but Emma took her hand first. You said you'd fight for us. Let me fight for you, too. There was a long silence, filled only by the hum of the city outside the windows. Then, finally, Alessandra exhaled. Okay, but you stay close. No wandering, no errands alone. You don't open the door to anyone who doesn't say the phrase we agreed on. Emma nodded. Which is? Alessandra leaned in and whispered it against her neck, her voice low and warm. Tell Lily I brought stars. Emma closed her eyes. That's beautiful. Alessandra stepped back with a faint smile. So is she. That night, they didn't sleep much. The guards doubled their rounds. The cameras were checked, the alarms tested. Lily didn't notice the tension. She just fell asleep between them like always, trusting the rhythm of their breathing to keep her safe. At 2 a.m., Emma woke to the sound of Alessandra murmuring into her phone again.
She didn't try to listen this time.
Instead, she got up and walked out to the kitchen, making tea with quiet hands. When Alessandra joined her minutes later, there were shadows under her eyes and tension in every line of her body. Come here, Emma whispered, and pulled her close, cradling her head to her shoulder. I didn't want you to see this part of me, Alessandra murmured. Emma kissed her temple. This part? This is the one I trust the most. Later, as dawn began to lighten the horizon, there was a knock on the door. 3 taps. Then silence. Alessandra went still. Emma froze. The guard on the hallway monitor called in. It's someone requesting a meeting. He says he has information about the attempt. Alessandra glanced at Emma. Stay in the bedroom. Lock the door. Emma shook her head. No more hiding. Emma, we face it. Together. Alessandra held her gaze for a long moment, then gave the slightest nod.
Fine.
But you stay behind me. She opened the door to a man in a sleek gray suit with tired eyes and an envelope in his hand. I come in peace, he said. Alessandra didn't answer. She just reached for the envelope, her free hand never far from her weapon. He didn't resist. As she opened it, Emma stepped to her side, silent, watchful. Inside was a single photograph. Emma saw it too. A grainy image of the 3 of them walking near the hotel.
Emma.
Lily. Alessandra's hand on Emma's back. A date stamp. A location. They've been watching since before the wedding, Alessandra whispered. The man nodded. And now they know you care about them, which means you've given them your greatest weakness. Alessandra's voice dropped.
No.
I've given them my reason to win. The man nodded once, then left. The door closed. And for a moment, the room was nothing but silence. Emma looked at her. What now? Alessandra turned to her. Now I stop running. Now I take this fight to them. Emma stepped closer. And us. Alessandra cupped her face. You're the only thing in my life that doesn't feel like war. Emma kissed her. Firm, fierce, grounding. Then let's survive this. And then we live. Alessandra pulled her into a full embrace, her voice raw against her ear. You've made me feel like a woman again. Not a weapon. I won't lose that. I won't lose you. And as the sun rose behind them, casting long shadows across the polished floor, Emma finally understood the truth of what had started that night at the wedding. Alessandra hadn't saved her. They had saved each other. Alessandra was no stranger to plans. Contingency plans, extraction plans, backup routes and burner phones, and whispered codes delivered through people who barely made eye contact. She'd built her life on the assumption that trust was a liability and intimacy a ticking bomb. And yet, here she was, at the head of a war room filled with armed silence, her hand wrapped tightly around Emma's under the table like it was the only truth she still believed in. Emma hadn't asked to be here. She hadn't demanded inclusion or access or power. But she sat beside Alessandra now with eyes that didn't flinch, a spine made of quiet steel, and the weight of someone who had lost before and refused to lose again. "They'll expect retaliation," said Luca, Alessandra's most trusted enforcer, pointing to the surveillance images on the wall. "They want to provoke it. They'll expect the version of me I used to be," Alessandra replied, voice flat. "Let's not give them what they want." She leaned back, squeezing Emma's hand once. "Let's give them something worse." When the meeting ended, Emma waited until the room cleared before speaking. "Do I want to know what worse looks like?" Alessandra didn't smile, but her eyes flicked with the faintest heat. "It looks like me still breathing when they expected me dead. It looks like you and Lily still drawing stars in the kitchen. You're serious about keeping us close. I'm serious about keeping you alive. There's a difference." "Not for me," Alessandra said. That night, Emma found herself standing in Alessandra's private closet, not sure what she was even looking for. Maybe it was just a moment to herself. A breath. But what she found instead was a small black box, half-tucked behind a row of watches. Curiosity 1. Inside. Photos. Paper. A child's drawing. Not Lily's. Another girl, much younger. Alessandra's face was barely recognizable, softer, smiling, holding the hand of a dark-haired little girl near a fountain. Behind them, a woman, elegant and distant, standing just far enough away to suggest the photo had captured something accidental. "Her name was Julia," Alessandra said from the doorway. Emma turned, startled. Alessandra walked in, slower than usual, quieter somehow. "My little sister. She was 5 when they took her." "Took her?" "Kidnapped. Leverage." Alessandra's voice barely broke above a whisper. "My family paid the price. But not fast enough. She didn't make it." Emma's breath caught. "Oh, Alessandra." I stopped smiling after that. "My mother said love made us weak. My father said love made us liabilities. But you loved her anyway." "I still do," Alessandra said. "I never stopped." Emma stepped closer, placing the photo gently back in the box. "Maybe that's why you see Lily so clearly. She reminds me of her."
Brave. Loud.
Curious. Alessandra hesitated. "And you remind me of who I could have become if I'd known people like you earlier." Emma reached out, touched her cheek. "You still can. It's not too late." Alessandra closed her eyes, leaned into the touch like it hurt. "I don't know how to be soft and survive at the same time." "You do," Emma said. "You just don't believe it yet." That night, for the first time since the war had begun to rumble beneath their feet, Alessandra didn't reach for her gun before falling asleep. She reached for Emma instead, wrapping her arms around her with a kind of desperation that had nothing to do with fear. It was need, hope, maybe even healing. In the dark, Emma whispered, "What are you thinking?" Alessandra kissed her shoulder, lips lingering. "That I'd burn the world down if it meant keeping you both safe." "You don't have to burn anything," Emma said. "Just come home to us. That's all we want." "You already feel like home," Alessandra murmured. The next morning, Lily ran into the bedroom at full speed, jumping onto the bed with her usual explosion of energy. "I made pancakes with Sophia," she said, referring to the terrifying woman who ran Alessandra's kitchen with military precision. "She said I could open a restaurant. Only if I get to be the bouncer," Emma teased. Lily grinned. "You can be the boss. And she pointed to Alessandra, can be the superhero who protects the pancakes." Alessandra laughed, a real one this time, and Emma stared at her like she was watching something sacred crack open. "She's not wrong," Emma whispered. "You saved me. In ways I didn't even know I needed." Alessandra reached for her hand across the blanket. Then stay. No matter what comes next. Stay. I'm not going anywhere, Emma said. And if you ever try to push me away again, I'm bringing Lily and a suitcase full of glitter. That sounds like a threat. It is. They kissed again, not rushed, not explosive, but full of something permanent. Something that whispered, "We're already ours." That afternoon, Alessandra received another message. Not a threat, an invitation, a meeting, a final negotiation with the people responsible for the photo. "If I go," Alessandra said, "it could end this. For good." "And if you don't come back?" Emma asked. Alessandra touched her face, slow and tender. "Then remember I loved you in every way I could, and I'll find my way back if I can." "We'll wait," Emma said, "but we'll be ready too." And she meant it, because Emma had lived through heartbreak. She had survived being left behind. But this, what she and Alessandra had, wasn't fragile. It was forged, tempered, real. War was coming, but love was already here, and it wasn't going anywhere. The day Alessandra left for the meeting was the quietest day Emma had ever lived. The kind of silence that wasn't peaceful but expectant, stretched too thin across the walls of a place that still smelled like her, still held the warmth of her last touch, but felt emptier with every second she was gone. Emma stood at the window long after the black SUV disappeared, her arms folded tight over her chest, as if holding herself together required physical effort now. Lily was in the living room, drawing again, her crayons spread across the marble floor like a battlefield of soft color. Her little voice broke the silence without looking up. "She's gonna come back." Emma didn't answer right away. "She promised," Lily added. Emma turned, trying to smile. "Yeah, baby. She did." But promises didn't mean anything to men with guns and blood debts. Not in Alessandra's world. Not in the one she was walking into alone. "Will you be sad if she doesn't?" Lily asked. Emma crossed the room, crouching in front of her. "She's not just someone who makes me happy. She makes me strong, too. That's what love should feel like." Lily nodded as if this made perfect sense. Then held up her newest drawing. This time it was just two figures, Alessandra with her long dark suit and Emma beside her, holding a heart between them. Overhead, a single star. "It's the one she gave me," Lily whispered. "I remember the shape." Emma felt her eyes sting. "It's beautiful." But she didn't hang the picture on the fridge like the others. She folded it and slipped it into her pocket like something sacred. Because if Alessandra didn't return, Emma would need every piece of her to remember. Time passed like honey, slow, heavy, unbearable. Every footstep in the hall made Emma jump. Every ring of the phone set her heart racing. When night fell and there was still no word, Emma stood in Alessandra's closet, her fingers brushing over the untouched row of suits, the silk ties, the sharp scent of her perfume still lingering in the air. Her body ached with want, but it wasn't carnal. It was the want of safety, of breath, of her. "She's coming back," Emma said out loud, as if willing it into truth. But inside, doubt was a slow poison. Then, at 1:43 a.m., a code rang through the security system. 2 knocks, a pause, then a voice over the intercom. "Tell Lily I brought stars." Emma ran. The guards opened the door, and she was already there, barefoot and breathless. Alessandra stood just beyond the threshold, blood on her sleeve, a cut on her cheek, and eyes that looked like someone who'd climbed out of hell with nothing but will. Emma threw her arms around her before she could say a word. "You came back." Alessandra held her like she never wanted to let go again. "I told you I would. You're hurt. I've been worse." Emma pulled back, cupping her face. "But you're here. You're here." Alessandra leaned in, resting their foreheads together. "It's done. They won't come near us again." "How can you be sure?" "Because I made them understand. If they touch you, they touch me. And I'm not a woman they want as an enemy." Emma kissed her, this time with the force of every sleepless hour, every second spent fearing she'd never get this again. "I love you," she said against her lips. I didn't want to say it before. Not like this. Not when I thought I'd lose you. Alessandra pulled her closer. Say it again. I love you. One more time. I love you, Emma whispered, her voice breaking now. And I don't want to lose you ever again. Then you won't, Alessandra said, fierce and certain. Because I'm yours now. I've been yours since the moment you looked at me like I wasn't dangerous. Just lonely. They stood like that for what felt like forever. Two broken, burning people learning how to feel whole in each other. Later, in bed, with Lily curled safely between them again, Alessandra brushed her fingers over Emma's hand beneath the sheets. When I was a girl, I used to dream of escape. Not from the family. Not from the life. Just from the cold. From the way no one looked at me like I was real. And now I dream of kitchens full of drawings. Of bedtime stories. Of laughter in the dark. Of love. Of you. Emma leaned in, kissing the corner of her mouth. You're not dreaming. You're here. Alessandra nodded. And I'm staying. As sleep pulled them under, Lily's voice came softly through the dark. She brought the stars, Mommy. Emma smiled. Yeah, baby.
She did.
And finally, the silence in the room wasn't heavy. It was peace. Peace, as it turned out, was not quiet. It was filled with sound, new sounds, warm sounds. The laughter of a 6-year-old echoing off the marble floors, the clatter of breakfast being made far too early in the morning, the rustle of sheets as two bodies learned the shape of each other without fear. Alessandra hadn't gone back to her old life. Not fully. The meetings still happened, discreet, sharp, necessary. The guards were still present, silent shadows in the corners. But she didn't disappear anymore. She stayed. She woke up tangled in Emma's arms and helped Lily tie her shoelaces before her lessons. She brewed Emma's coffee exactly the way she liked it, dark and steady, and never once forgot to kiss her good morning. And at night, when the lights dimmed and Lily's breathing evened out in the next room, Alessandra let herself be undone in Emma's arms, slowly, reverently, like someone learning the shape of softness for the first time. I didn't think I'd be good at this, she said one night, voice low against Emma's neck. At what? Staying. Choosing. Letting myself need. Emma kissed the curve of her shoulder. You're not just good at it. You make it look like breathing. But breathing, as Emma was learning, wasn't always easy. Because when peace settles, real life begins again. And with it, decisions that can no longer be postponed. There's something I've been thinking about, she said one afternoon, watching Lily draw stars again at the dining table. Alessandra glanced up from her phone. Tell me. I want to leave the city. Alessandra's expression didn't shift, but Emma could see the quiet ripple behind her eyes. You want to disappear? No, Emma said gently. I want to start over. Away from the noise. The danger. The history. For Lily. For us. Alessandra sat still, considering. You want me to leave everything. I want you to bring everything that matters. Which is us. Alessandra stood slowly, walked to the window, and stared out at the skyline she'd spent years ruling. You know this world doesn't let people leave easily. But you've already started to, Emma said, rising and joining her. Every night you choose us over power. Every time you let Lily draw on your arm with glitter pens and don't wipe it off. You're already gone from that life. You just haven't realized it. Alessandra turned to her, and something shifted in her voice. And if they call me back, then I'll remind you what it means to stay. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the half-packed bags she hadn't yet had the courage to finish. When Alessandra stirred and sat up beside her, Emma didn't speak. Alessandra took her hand. You're afraid I'll say no. I'm afraid you'll say yes and regret it. Alessandra's fingers tightened around hers. I've made a life out of choosing what's expected of me. This is the first time I've chosen what I want. And what do you want? Alessandra looked at her, quiet and certain. A kitchen full of drawings. Pancakes at sunrise. You in my bed, every night. Lily's laughter. A life that feels like something I earned, not something I had to fight to survive. You really want that? Emma, she said, her voice barely more than breath. You are the only thing I've ever wanted with both hands open. Emma closed her eyes. Then let's go. Where? Anywhere. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere where Lily can grow up without bodyguards and I can write again, and you can breathe, Alessandra finished. Emma smiled.
Yeah.
That. 2 days later, they left before sunrise. No announcements. No goodbyes. Just 3 bags, one sleepy child in Alessandra's arms, and a destination far from city lights. The house they found wasn't large. A cottage on the edge of a lake, where the mornings smelled like pine and the stars returned to them every night without asking. Lily named it the Star House before the first box was unpacked. Alessandra painted the mailbox herself. Emma started writing again, small things, poems and notes, and a story that wasn't fiction anymore, because it was theirs. And one afternoon, as she sat on the porch, Lily asleep in a hammock beside her and the sun warming her legs, Alessandra came outside barefoot, holding 2 mugs of coffee. We should get married, she said, without ceremony. Emma choked. Excuse me? You heard me. Is this because I burned the grilled cheese? It's because I wake up every morning and the first thing I want to see is your face. That's not a reason to marry someone, Emma said, heart racing.
No.
But the fact that I can't imagine a life without you, that is. Emma stood, walked over, and took the mug from her hand. Ask me properly. Alessandra smiled. Will you marry me, Emma Collins? Emma kissed her like the answer had been written in her blood since the day they met. Yes, she whispered, but only if Lily officiates. Obviously, Alessandra said. And wears a cape. Naturally. They laughed, breathless, pressed together under the sky that once felt so far away. But now it felt close, tangible, like love, like home. And as the wind passed gently through the trees and the lake rippled in the distance, Emma thought, this is what it means to be chosen by someone who doesn't let go. The first storm in the lake house came, without thunder. It wasn't rain or wind that shook the walls. It was the stillness. The quiet that comes after adrenaline fades and ordinary life begins to settle, inch by inch, into the bones. For the first few weeks, the new rhythm was perfect. Alessandra fixed things with her hands, a broken porch step, a crooked cabinet door, a light switch that sparked, while Lily ran barefoot with pine needles in her hair, drawing dragons in the dirt and asking questions no one had answers to. Emma wrote. Alessandra cooked. They fell asleep early, tangled together in sheets that smelled of lavender and pine, and woke slowly, as if time had finally softened around them. But peace, real peace, was not without its own kind of ache. It demanded honesty. Stillness made room for memory, for silence, for shadows. One evening, after Lily had fallen asleep with a comic book open on her chest, Emma walked into the bedroom and found Alessandra sitting on the edge of the bed, holding one of her knives. Not like a weapon, like a memory. Her shoulders were tense, her hands still. It's strange, Alessandra said, without looking up. I've spent most of my life knowing exactly who I was. Now I'm someone new, and I don't know what to do with her. Emma crossed the room slowly and knelt in front of her. You're still you. I don't feel like it. Good, Emma said, because the old you is surviving. The new you is living. Alessandra looked at her, and something raw passed between them. I feel exposed. Like I've taken off all my armor, and now I'm just standing here waiting to be hit. Emma placed her hands on Alessandra's knees, grounding her. You're not in danger anymore. That's the problem. I don't know how to exist without danger. It shaped everything. Then let something else shape you now. Like what? Like love, Emma said softly. Like this. She leaned in and kissed her, not like a distraction, not to erase the past, but as a way to remind her. You're here now. You're allowed to stay. Alessandra let the knife fall beside her on the nightstand. Her hands found Emma's face, tentative at first, then surer, fingers tracing over skin she already knew by memory, but now wanted to memorize for a different reason. The kiss deepened. became slower, more intentional. Alessandra didn't rush. She explored,
Tasted.
worshipped. Emma pulled her closer, her breath catching when Alessandra's lips brushed the underside of her jaw. "You don't have to be gentle," Emma whispered. "But I want to be," Alessandra said, voice thick with need. "Because no one ever was with me." Emma's heart stuttered. "Then let's make something new." Clothes came off in a slow unraveling, not out of urgency, but reverence. Emma felt like something sacred under Alessandra's touch, every movement careful, every kiss a silent vow. And Alessandra, God, she was fire and restraint, hands trembling with the effort to love without claiming, to take without conquering. When Emma arched into her, whispered her name like a prayer, Alessandra paused, forehead pressed to her shoulder. "I've never done this like this." "Like what?" "Like I could break if I'm not careful." "You won't break," Emma said, pulling her down into another kiss. "Not here. Not with me." When they finally moved together, it was slow, deep, unhurried. No noise. No chaos. Just the quiet burn of something honest. Intimate.
Real.
Alessandra held her like she was holding a truth she'd waited her whole life to believe in. And Emma, she didn't close her eyes once. She wanted to see it all. Every flicker of vulnerability, every gasp, every moment Alessandra let herself be soft. When they finished, Alessandra collapsed beside her, breath uneven, hand still gripping Emma's like she was afraid to let go. "You're crying," Emma said gently. Alessandra nodded, one tear slipping past her defenses. "It feels like I've come home, and I didn't know how much I needed it." Emma kissed her temple. "Every touch is a promise. You don't have to keep proving you deserve this. You already do." They lay together in silence for a while, limbs tangled, hearts thudding slowly back into rhythm. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, whispering through the branches like the ghosts of all the versions of themselves they'd left behind. Eventually, Alessandra spoke again. "You asked me once who I was if I wasn't the woman with blood on her hands. And I told you I'd help you figure it out. I think I'm starting to know." Emma smiled against her skin. "Yeah, I'm someone who wants to build a life. With you. Who wants pancakes and bedtime stories and Sunday mornings where nothing happens except love." "You already have that," Emma whispered. "You just need to believe you're allowed to keep it." Alessandra pulled her closer. "Don't let me forget." "I won't," Emma said. "Even if I have to remind you every day. With my hands. With my mouth. With everything I am." Alessandra kissed her then, a kiss that promised not forever, but today, and tomorrow, and all the days after, one by one, with love growing in the cracks where war used to live. And when Emma finally fell asleep in her arms, Alessandra didn't follow right away. She just watched her, touched her, memorized her, and whispered into the dark, "You made me real." The days after that night were different. Not louder or faster, just deeper. Like every moment now had roots. Breakfasts became rituals. Lily insisted on family stretches every morning, and Emma never argued, even when Alessandra, in nothing but her tank top and sleepy smile, stood behind her trying to mimic the poses with silent laughter in her chest. There was laughter now. Real, reckless, room-filling laughter. Alessandra gardened.
Badly.
Emma caught her more than once yelling at the stubborn basil, and once, apologizing to a worm she accidentally stepped on. Lily left drawings on every wall, and they didn't take them down. Instead, they framed them, and when it rained, they danced in it. No shoes. No umbrellas. Just freedom. Emma started a new story. Not one she planned to publish.
This one was only for them.
A story about a little girl, her fearless mom, and the dark-eyed woman with a scar who watched over them like a protector from the shadows, until one day, she stopped hiding. Until one day she stayed. Alessandra read every word, sometimes in silence, sometimes aloud in bed, voice low and reverent, like she knew the story was really a spell that kept them together. But peace, Emma had learned, wasn't a finish line. It was a gift you had to keep choosing. And that choice was tested the morning the letter came. It wasn't marked. No return address. Just a thick envelope slid under the front door while they were in the garden, Lily picking wildflowers for Alessandra's hair. Emma saw it first. The paper was heavy. The seal on the flap waxed. Red. She didn't need to open it to feel the tension crawl up her spine. But she did. Inside. A single sheet.
Typed.
No names. No signature. Just one sentence. She can run, but you'll never stop looking over your shoulder. Emma didn't scream. She didn't cry. She folded the letter, tucked it into her pocket, and turned toward the garden. Alessandra was crouched beside Lily, letting the little girl braid a crooked flower crown with dandelions and clover. It looked absurd on her head, this ex-Mafia heir wearing weeds like royalty, and yet it made Emma's chest ache with something so warm it bordered on pain. "Can you watch her for a second?" Emma asked, her voice too even. Alessandra stood. Of course. They met inside the house, and Emma handed her the note without a word. Alessandra read it once. Then again. Her expression didn't change, but her hand did. It clenched.
Hard.
They found us. Or they want us to think they did. It's not a bluff, Alessandra said. This kind of message isn't meant to scare. It's meant to remind. Remind you of what? That piece is borrowed. And they want it back. Alessandra's breath came sharper now. She turned away, paced. I should have seen this coming. I should have left you behind when I had the chance. Don't say that, Emma snapped. You promised. I promised to keep you safe, Alessandra said, voice breaking. And I brought the war to your doorstep anyway. You brought yourself. And I chose that. You didn't choose this. Emma stepped in front of her, grabbed her face in both hands. Listen to me. We are not going back. We are not hiding. If they want to remind you who you used to be, then let me remind you who you are now. Alessandra's throat moved as she swallowed hard. If anything happens to you, then fight harder, Emma said. But don't you dare disappear. A silence fell between them. Not cold, weighted. Heavy with fear. Heavy with love. Alessandra pulled her close, hands trembling against her back. I won't lose you.
Not now.
Not ever. Then don't. That night, Alessandra sat at the dining table with a gun she hadn't touched since they arrived. She cleaned it slowly, methodically, while Lily slept and Emma sat nearby, reading aloud from her notebook. Her voice was steady, but her eyes flicked toward Alessandra every few lines. When she finished, Alessandra looked up. You still write like you believe in happy endings. I still do. Even now. Especially now. Alessandra slid the gun into a drawer and locked it. Then I need to believe, too. The next morning, Emma woke to find a second letter. This time, it wasn't under the door. It was inside the house. On the kitchen table. Lily hadn't seen it, thank God. But Emma did. It was shorter than the first. Just one line. She doesn't belong to you. She never did. Emma stood there, heart pounding, staring at the words until Alessandra appeared behind her. She didn't ask what it said. She just looked at Emma, her voice barely a whisper. They're trying to break you. They're trying to break us. But they don't know you, Alessandra said. You're not a woman who breaks. Emma looked at her, jaw clenched. You either. Alessandra leaned in and kissed her. Hard, fierce, full of defiance. We fight. Together, Emma said. Always. And this time, when Lily ran into the room, asking for pancakes and glitter and maybe a new set of crayons because she'd used all the red ones drawing fire-breathing dragons, Emma smiled like nothing had changed. But everything had. Because ghosts don't knock. They slip in through cracks you didn't know were there. But Emma had survived ghosts before. And this time, she wasn't alone. The letter didn't leave the table for hours. Neither Emma nor Alessandra touched it. They didn't need to. Its presence was enough. Acidic, intimate, poisonous in the way only someone who knew Alessandra could make it. She doesn't belong to you. She never did. Those weren't words meant to threaten. They were meant to slice. to unravel from the inside. And they knew it. By noon, the sky had darkened. A storm brewed over the lake, the kind that rolled in heavy and slow, the clouds bruised and low, the air sharp with anticipation. It matched the tension in the house. Alessandra didn't pace. She sat in silence, unmoving, watching the rain gather on the windows like it was counting down something. Emma watched her, always watching, trying to read between the breaths, trying to guess what it would take to keep her from vanishing inward. "Do you know who sent it?" she asked finally. Alessandra didn't flinch. Yes. That one word hung between them like a wire pulled too tight. "Then say it," Emma pressed. "Say his name." Lorenzo. The name was smoke and glass and old wounds. Emma had never heard it before, but she recognized what it did to Alessandra's voice, the coldness, the retreat. Old family? Older than that. He was everything I was supposed to be. If I was a man. If I played the game right. If I didn't care about anything. "You loved him. He raised me," Alessandra said quietly. "Not with kindness, but with control. He taught me how to aim a gun before I turned 12. How to break a man's arm without getting blood on my cuffs. He said emotions were for the dead." Emma moved closer, knelt in front of her. "And now he knows you're alive. Because you love." Alessandra looked at her then, and there was fire under the ice. "And he hates that I'm free. That I found something real. That I picked a woman who makes pancakes in her pajamas instead of the power he thought I was born to inherit." "So, what does he want now?" Emma asked. "To remind me I'm still his. That I'll never outrun the life he shaped me for." Emma reached up and framed her face. "You're not his. You never were." Alessandra closed her eyes. "He knows where we are. He wouldn't be this bold if he didn't. Then let's go." "No," Alessandra stood now, voice sharper. "Running makes it worse. Running tells him he still has power over me, that he can make me afraid. Then what do we do?" Emma asked, rising too. Alessandra looked at her. "We make a move he'll never forget." The plan was simple and dangerous. Alessandra would go to him, alone, not with apologies, not with surrender, but with truth. A woman no longer hiding, no longer loyal to anything but what she chose for herself. This could be a trap, Emma warned as they packed. Alessandra holstered her gun with steady hands. "Then let them try. Don't say that like you're invincible." "I'm not, but I'm in love." She crossed the room, pulled Emma close, kissed her like it could be the last time. "And I'll burn every lie I've ever lived in to protect this love." "Then let me come with you." "No, I'm not afraid." "I am," Alessandra said, touching her forehead to Emma's. "Of losing you more than anything else in this world." "Then come back to me." "I swear it." Alessandra left before sunset. No guards. No convoy. Just her, a black coat, and a promise. Emma stood on the porch long after the car disappeared, the storm rolling closer. She could feel it in her skin, a reckoning. A before and an after. Inside, Lily was asleep, safe in her bed, her arms wrapped around her favorite stuffed triceratops. Emma sat in the living room, waiting, her phone clutched in one hand, the other shaking against her thigh. Hours passed. Rain started. No word. At 1:26 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered on the first ring. "Hello." "She's alive," said a woman's voice. "She did it. But you need to come. She's hurt." "Where?" "She said you'd know." And Emma did. She was out the door before the sentence finished, driving through the night like her hands knew the wheel better than her mind. The location was burned into her memory, a private airstrip Alessandra once said she used when she didn't want anyone to know she was leaving. When Emma arrived, the rain had stopped. The storm had passed. But Alessandra sat on the ground just beyond the runway lights, blood on her shoulder, jacket torn, hair wet, and eyes empty. "Alessandra," Emma breathed, running to her. Alessandra looked up, her voice thin. "He's gone." "What happened?" Emma dropped to her knees beside her, checking for wounds, ignoring the panic flooding her chest. He offered me the world. Said I could come back, rebuild, rule beside him. And you said no? I said, I already have a kingdom. And it looks like a lake house with a woman who teaches me how to be human. Emma choked a sound that was half sob, half laughter. God, you're dramatic. You love that about me. I do. Alessandra leaned into her. He won't come back. How do you know? Because I didn't leave the meeting with silence. Emma looked into her eyes and saw something new. Not violence. Not vengeance.
Peace.
Earned.
Claimed.
Defended. Come home, Emma whispered.
Please.
Just come home now. I'm already home, Alessandra said. The second I saw you again, I was home. Emma wrapped her arms around her and held on. To the woman she had once kissed under false pretenses. To the truth that had grown between them. To the family they had become. She didn't let go. Not then. Not ever. It took a full week for Alessandra's shoulder to heal, and another for her eyes to lose that faraway tension, the kind that made Emma wake in the middle of the night just to check if she was still breathing next to her. And she always was. Because this time, Alessandra stayed. The aftermath of her confrontation with Lorenzo had rippled outward like the final tremor after an earthquake. Not destructive, but clarifying. Loose ends were tied. Messages were sent. Quiet warnings were delivered to anyone foolish enough to think of testing her again. Alessandra didn't return to the shadows. She simply made it clear that no shadow would ever touch the family she had built. You don't belong to that world anymore, Emma told her one morning, watching her put sugar in her coffee like it wasn't a new ritual. Alessandra didn't correct her. She just leaned in and kissed her temple. I belong to you. It wasn't an exaggeration. It was a vow. When the idea of the wedding came up again, it wasn't with candles or rings or speeches. It happened on a Tuesday. Lily had drawn a picture of the three of them standing in front of their lake house, under a sky full of stars. She titled it, Our Family Forever. Emma stared at the drawing for a long time before saying, We should get married. Alessandra didn't blink. Yes. You don't even want to talk about it? I've already decided. I just needed you to say it out loud. And what if I hadn't? I would have waited, Alessandra said, until you remembered we were already married in every way that matters. They planned something small not because they had to, but because it was who they were now. No bodyguards. No guest list of powerful men in suits. Just them, Lily and the trees. Lily insisted on wearing a cape and serving cake. Emma wore a soft white dress with a flower in her hair. Alessandra wore a charcoal suit, no tie, sleeves rolled, and a quiet look on her face like she couldn't quite believe the life she had fought her way into. They said no vows. They didn't need them. The promise was in the silence between breaths, in the way Alessandra looked at Emma when she took her hands, in the way Emma smiled like she'd known this ending since the first time they danced in a room that didn't want them to exist. The ceremony was short. The kiss was not. And when Lily shouted, You may now kiss your wife again, Alessandra laughed into Emma's mouth and did exactly that. Later, under a sky full of real stars, Emma pulled Alessandra out onto the dock behind their house. The air was cool. The lake reflected every shimmer of light above them. You good? Emma asked, wrapping her arms around Alessandra from behind. Better than good. Happy. Alessandra turned in her arms and nodded. I didn't think I'd ever know what that meant. Not really. And now I wake up and you're there.
She's there.
And I don't have to fight anyone to keep it. Except the raccoons. They're relentless. Alessandra deadpanned. Emma laughed, pressing her forehead to hers. You know, for someone who once whispered death threats at a wedding, you've turned into a bit of a softa. Only for you, Alessandra murmured. You ruined me for everything else. That's the idea. They stood there for a while, saying nothing, watching the sky. Then Alessandra pulled something from her pocket. A small paper star, folded, worn, delicate. The very first one she made for Lily. I kept it, she said. All this time. Emma touched it gently. It's ours now. Everything is. Inside the house, Lily was fast asleep, her head resting on a sketchbook filled with pages of dreams, drawings of dragons, stars, superhero moms, and hearts in every color. When they returned to bed, Emma curled into Alessandra's chest, her fingers splayed over the place that used to carry tension, now replaced with warmth. "You think it'll last?" she whispered. Alessandra kissed the top of her head. "It already has." And maybe there was more to come. Challenges, memories, new beginnings. Maybe there would be sleepless nights, messy mornings, muddy shoes, and glitter in the fridge. But the war was over. The past was past. What remained now was the truth between two women who had every reason to give up and didn't. Because love didn't save them. They saved love. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.